The most important things to remember about backstory are that A, everyone has a history, and B, most of it isn't very interesting. Reading at meals is considered rude in polite society, but if you expect to succeed as a writer, rudeness should be the second to the least of your concerns. The truth is that most writers are needy. Writing is magic, as much the water of life as any other creative art. The water is free, so drink. Drink and be filled up. The scariest moment is always just before you start. After that, things can only get better. Do you need someone to make you a paper badge with the word writer on it before you can believe you are one? The road to hell is paved with adverbs. Your job isn't to find these ideas, but to recognize them when they show up. Description begins with visualization of what it is you want the reader to experience. It ends with you translating what you see in your mind into words on the page. It's hard for me to believe that people who read very little, or not at all in some cases, should presume to write and expect people to like what they have written. There's an old rule of theater that goes, if there's a gun on the mantle in Act 1, it must go off in Act 3. Life stories are best received in bars, and only then an hour or so before closing time, and if you are buying. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, shame on both of us. You can, you should, and if you're brave enough to start, you will. Writing is not life, but I think that sometimes it can be a way back to life. Words create sentences. Sentences create paragraphs. Sometimes paragraphs quicken and begin to breathe. Writing is a lonely job. Having someone who believes in you makes a lot of difference. They don't have to make speeches. Just believing is usually enough. Sometimes you have to go on when you don't feel like it. And sometimes you're doing good work when it feels like all you're managing is to shovel shit from a sitting position. Good story ideas seem to come quite literally from nowhere, sailing at you right out of the empty sky. 2 previously unrelated ideas come together and make something new under the sun. All novels are really letters aimed at one person. Where do I get my ideas? The more pertinent question is, how do I make them stop? Any claims that the drugs and alcohol are necessary to dull a finer sensibility are just the usual self-serving. Reading in bed can be heaven, assuming you can get just the right amount of light on the page and aren't prone to spilling your coffee or cognac on the sheets. Only God gets it right the first time, and only a slob says, "Oh well, let it go. That's what copy editors are for." You cannot hope to sweep someone else away by the force of your writing until it has been done to you. Your job is to make sure the muse knows where you're going to be every day from 9 till noon, or 7 till 3. If he does know, I assure you that sooner or later he'll start showing up. If you write or paint or dance or sculpt or sing, I suppose, someone will try to make you feel lousy about it. That's all. Books are a uniquely portable magic. Optimism is a perfectly legitimate response to failure. Amateurs sit and wait for inspiration. The rest of us just get up and go to work. It starts with this. Put your desk in the corner, and every time you sit down there to write, remind yourself why it isn't in the middle of the room. When you've had a little success, magazines are a lot less apt to use that phrase. Not for us. If you disapprove, I can only shrug my shoulders. It's what I have. You learn best by reading a lot and writing a lot, and the most valuable lessons of all are the ones you teach yourself. I think the best stories always end up being about the people rather than the event, which is to say, character-driven. You try to tell yourself that you've been lucky, most incredibly lucky, and usually that works because it's true. Sometimes it doesn't work. That's all. Then you cry.